ceremonies, the incredible ceremonies that are taking place in this country of respect and of admiration by the people of South Africa is something that seeing it from abroad is remarkable and increases our admiration for the people of South Africa and the respect for their leader.
The relationship between South Africa and Cuba is well documented. Even more known than that is the relationship between Fidel Castro and Nelson Mandela. What was it about these two men that hit it off immediately?
The relationship started long ago. Truly, it started indirectly because we had no direct contact with Nelson Mandela while he was in prison. But we were very close from the beginning of the 1960s with the resistive movement led by the ANC and the South African Communist Party, a resistance against apartheid. And since then, there was a very close relationship between the struggle of South Africa and the liberation and the Cuban Revolution. Now, I've read in Nelson Mandela's biography that during his preparation for the speech at the dock, among the materials that he studied was Fidel's own defense, the speech in his defense when he was in trial in 1953. Now, in Cuba, we knew about Nelson Mandela from very early on. So it was once they met, which took place in 1991, after Nelson Mandela was released and he traveled to Cuba for the first time, the relationship was very close. And it was the several times that they met after that, it was a confirmation of their mutual ideas, of the way they believe, the mutual admiration, among other things, and their combined belief in the right of people to struggle for justice and for liberation.
Mr. Ambassador, so much has been made at of the memorial service where we saw the American President Barack Obama take the hand of the Cuban President Raul Castro. So much has been talked about it. I'm sure you've read some of the reports written about it. Your thoughts on that? Is there more to it?
I think it should be taken as a normal act of courtesy between the two men. That's what we saw on television, and that's how it should be taken. In a ceremony in which the main topic was the tribute to Nelson Mandela, and that should be the story, the tribute to Nelson Mandela and the presence of leaders from anywhere in the world, regardless of their beliefs.
We often talk about, and we've looked and we've seen those pictures of Fidel Castro and Tata Nelson Mandela. In 2010, in the last open letter to Mandela, Fidel Castro called him an old and revered friend. But the countries have also benefited from that special friendship.
The country has benefited, both countries have benefited from that friendship. We have a strong cooperation between our two nations. And today, for example, and for the past several years, there has been a strong cooperation in the medical service. There have been cooperation in exchange of technical assistance between the two nations and in human resources. And we believe it can still go on. There's a good willingness between our two peoples. There's potential to do it, and we believe we should continue to strengthen that relationship that Nelson Mandela and Fidel Castro both built.
One of the things that, we always get the sense of, we get the sense that not only was he a global icon, and we know that, we know the kind of messages of peace and how he not only believed in peace, but he had a different strategy towards obtaining peace. How is Tata Nelson Mandela seen and revered in your country?
We see him in several facets, I would say. First, we see him as a man firmly committed to the struggle of his people and the conviction that the people of South Africa had the right to live in a nation free from the oppression of one race by the other, and that had the right to resist that oppression and even take up arms if it was necessary, as he said. Now, we also see him as a man who set an example with his attitude, together with his comrades in prison. We have to understand that it was a group of them, and we do that in Cuba, and they became an inspiration to the resistance movement, led again by the ANC and the South African Communist Party. That was the one that made apartheid unsustainable in this country. We believe also that his capacity to understand the complexity of this society and the need to avoid the worst scenario led him to an attitude of reconciliation that we admire, an attitude of calling and educating the people that you had to control and tame your anger and build a society that was for all South Africans, regardless of race.
Mr. Ambassador, why has Cuba taken such a keen interest in the liberation struggle of the people of Africa?
Well, we are descendants of Africans. Cuba has two main branches, I would say. We have European blood, basically Spaniard, and we have African blood. Most Cubans, either we have it in our blood or we have it in our minds, but we are from African origin. And we believe that the support for the struggle against colonialism and the struggle against imperialism in Africa and for justice was part of our debt with Africa, with humanity. And therefore, that's where we participated, again, from the beginning of the 60s in the liberation movement. And we still believe we're proud of what we did, and we think it was a struggle. We didn't take any wealth. We did not take any material or economic benefit. We took our debt, the people that died there, and we took the gratitude of the people of Africa.
Project that relationship for me, because the interest started because Africa was trying to liberate itself. But now that their liberation is being reached, how do you see that relationship pan out?
It's a strong relationship. Cuba has cooperation in most African countries. Again, mostly in the medical sector, which is the area where we have more strength, but also in technical assistance and education. And we have continued to nurture that relationship, and we are happy with it. We believe that among the nations with which Cuba has a better relationship is with African nations. And we believe that we are part of the African struggle.
It's a well-documented relationship, Fidel Castro and Tata Nelson Mandela. That relationship has continued with Raul Castro. Earlier this year, there's been announcements that he might step out of political life. Project not only this relationship, but what will Cuba look like under new leadership?
Raul Castro was re-elected this year for a 5-year term.
So he's announced in 2018 that he will officially step out of the political space.
That's right. He's ratified that. Cuba will continue to struggle with its revolutionary process. We're building a socialist society under very difficult conditions, under very strong hostility from the United States, relentless hostility from day one. And it's a great challenge for a small country like ours to have to face this hostility from such a powerful nation. But we will continue to struggle for the benefit of our people, to continue to practice solidarity within our nation and with other nations in the world. There's no plan in Cuba to change from that course.
So we're going to leave it there, but thank you very much for joining me. And of course, that's the Cuban ambassador to South Africa, Ambassador Carlos De Cossio, talking to us about that relationship that really has been cemented since the 1960s, and also when Fidel Castro and Nelson Mandela met in 1990.